All right, ladies and gentlemen, first things first. One of our comrades in arms has suffered an injury on the battlefield, Tracy Dyer, in flyover country. And we mean that with all the love and lightheartedness that I can muster. She has sliced her thumb wide open. So we want to send out some good juju to her, some healing virtue, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to go ahead. I don't even have my ring. Let me put my rings on just in case they're super secret decoder rings. I don't know if they are or not, but they are. And one of them is curious that I still wear it, but for some reason I still want to. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get all ringed up and then we'll do the deed. How about that? Purple or red? I'm thinking red. So let's go ahead and send some good juju out to Tracy Dyer. She's got a little thumb on her tater, she said. Let's go ahead and send some good juju out to Tracy right now. No brow sweat, Tracy. There's no sweat. So you're going to have to do with just the good juju. So let's concentrate and let's send some good energy out to Tracy for her cut thumb. Boom. All right, there we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, New Cosmic Knowledge, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Glad you're all here. This show might melt your cerebral cortex just a little bit because it's out there. It's a little bit out of the box, but I think it's something that is powerful. And when I give you the rest of it, whenever I give you the rest of it, I don't even know if you'll be able to handle it. It's just amazing stuff. And speaking of amazing stuff, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Derek Bros, the Global Witness, will be joining me on this channel for a lighthearted, non-controversial, easygoing discussion about can we save Jesus from Christianity and can we redeem the message of the Christ from the Bible? So no big deal, but we're doing that at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, it should work. At 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Captain Gustav started. And at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we will have the return that you've all been waiting for. No, Jesus isn't coming back, but almost as good. It's the return of the consequential rapscallions, Scotty Roberts and myself, 10 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, right here on this channel. And boom, Rocky Stucci, shut up, is in the house. He won't be able to be in the house tonight with the consequential rapscallions. We made the inquiry, but, you know, Rocky's schedule, he's sort of a big deal, and we didn't get him soon enough. So, you know, Rocky is in the house, but he won't be in the house tonight, unfortunately. But we'll get Rocky, the emotional meatball, back on the channel real soon. And we need to get the emotional meatball back on to talk about addiction and recovery. And Global Witness comes in asking, are we still on for 5 p.m.? Derek, I just made the announcement. We are on for 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. The Global Witness, the one, the only Global Witness, Derek Bros, and we are ready to rock and roll with that. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, Derek Bros. 7 p.m. Pacific, I believe, as well. Or maybe 8 p.m. Mountain. I'm not sure what Utah is. But it'll be 10 p.m. Eastern. And it will be Scotty Roberts and myself, the return of the consequential rapscallions, or the rapscallions that are consequential. Either way you want to look at it, but it sounds better, consequential rapscallions. Global Witness does rock, and we're going to be out there amongst the rocks with Global Witness. In mere, what is this? This is November. Yeah, in mere days, ladies and gentlemen. So get yourself ready. As I take a drink of stevia sweetened iced tea, and it's not even iced because you don't want to pour cold water on your vocal cords while you're talking, but you don't care about that. So let's go into this. Ladies and gentlemen, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Correspondence, and what's the last one? Correspondence and Polarity. How in the world could this These four things go together. I feel like I'm on Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the others. One of them does not belong. Don't miss it, everyone, says Derek Bros on Jeff's channel, not mine. I'll be live in a few minutes after Jeff ends this one. We'll be quick, Derek. We'll be quick. So let's talk about Snow White. Let's talk about Sleeping Beauty. And let's talk about how in the world I'm going to work this into Hermetic principles. This ought to be a magic act in and of itself, right? So don't end the meeting, Jeff. Let's talk about this. Let's share the screen. Let's look at Snow White. Of course, Snow White is a 19th century German fairy tale. The Grimm brothers popularized it. And the point that I want to get to about, and I'm sure this is off center, and that's okay. The point I want to get to about Snow White is the fact, and you guys all know this story, and it's interesting that blood is involved. I forgot that the original queen pricks her finger and blood falls on the snow. So that's very interesting. I didn't realize until I started looking at this that it was a blood thing. But what the big part here, and of course I can't find it now as I want to, but Snow White, of course, eats the apple, and Snow White does what? She goes to sleep, right? She goes into suspended animation. That's what I was looking for, which is the inducement of a temporary cessation or decay of the main body functions. And I know Wikipedia is not the greatest source, but it does have good information. You got to pick and choose. So don't holler at me about Wikipedia. And it suspended animation, the inducement of a temporary cessation, that means it stops of decay of body functions, including the brain, to a hypometabolic state in order to preserve its mental and physiological capabilities. So Snow White eats the apple. Snow White goes to sleep, right? They put her in a glass coffin, which is really interesting. I didn't even think about that until just now as it figures into the story. They put her into a glass coffin. I thought she was asleep. But anyway, I guess he's already smooched her, but she's in this glass coffin, right? She's in this enclosure that's invisible, especially you would think from her perspective. So anyway, she's asleep. She's in an enclosure, and she's in this enclosure and in this sleep. And I just thought of this. This is even better. She's in this enclosure. She's in this sleep by a spell, right? That was induced by what? The eating of an apple. And what is the myth of original sin supposed to have been perpetuated around and centered around, but the apple of Eden? Of course, we know it wasn't an apple. We know we don't have original sin. We've got the spark of divinity within, but we also know, ladies and gentlemen, that everybody wants us to believe, especially the Christian religion wants us to believe that we have original sin. And I've just thought of this, but how many crosses are in this picture? There's a cross 1. There's a cross 2. This guy's got crosses all up and down his tunic. Here's another cross. 1, 2, 3 crosses here. The little things you start to notice as you start looking around, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got a chick put to sleep by an apple in a encasement, an entrapment that to her is, for the most part, invisible. And we've got it being, and we've got this, and I can't get off of this thing. And we've got the cross ubiquitously, well, maybe not perhaps ubiquitously, but very generously shown. That's pretty interesting, folks. So keep that stuff in mind as we move on to Sleeping Beauty. So Snow White, she's asleep by a charm, by a spell, with an apple in a transparent enclosure. And then we have Sleeping Beauty. And of course, Sleeping Beauty is under a sleeping enchantment, which links back to suspended animation, which is what we were just talking about. So here she is under a sleeping spell, ladies and gentlemen. Sleeping Beauty is under a sleeping spell, as well as Snow White was under a sleeping spell. And if you think about it, if you want to do a little study and you go into sleeping enchantments, you go into sleeping enchantments in fiction, it is used a lot in, it's a plot device that's used a lot in, and they even Wikipedia says it's innumerable science fiction stories. So you've got this story that's old as Snow White. You've got this story that's old as Sleeping Beauty. You've got this story, this theme that permeates our literature from the earliest stages. And yet it also permeates the most modern of literature and entertainment, coming from the mainstream entertainment complex. So my point is, as Glow Girl says, it's a tale as old as time. Global Witness says we're all sleeping, and makes a good point that Christ told his disciples to stay awake, but they couldn't. Well, when they went up to pray and they came back and said, couldn't you even wait for me for 1 hour? But I began to think about sleeping, right? And this ubiquitous nature of the sleeping story. Characters have been going to sleep. Are they trying to tell us something? Are they trying to tell us that they might have put us to sleep? They've been trying to put us to sleep. They've been feeding us apples. They've been feeding us potions. And they've been infecting us, ladies and gentlemen, with this notion of being asleep, of being under a spell, of being under a charm, of being under an incantation. Lou Machado, life is but a dream. It goes back to the crib, ladies and gentlemen. Life is but a dream. And as I pondered this, I began to ponder Hermetic principles from the Kabbalion. And I began to ponder on page 16. First of all, I pondered the principle of correspondence. And the principle of correspondence simply states, as above, so below. It embodies the truth that there's always a correspondence between the laws and the phenomena of the various planes of being and of life. So I started thinking, I said to myself, self, if the literature, both old and new, if the tales, both old and new, if they're trying to tell us we're asleep, and if they're bragging that they put us to sleep, as above, so below, there's a correspondence there. Thus the name of the principle of correspondence. Let me turn another little corner for you. Let's go to polarity. What does the principle of polarity state? It's fixing to get deep, y'all. The principle of polarity states that everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Somebody picking up what I'm putting down? Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremities meet. And tune into this, ladies and gentlemen. All truths are but half-truths. All lies are but half lies. I added that part. And all paradoxes may be reconciled. So go with me into a, once upon a time in a land far, far away. Let's go to the land of the people that think and ponder and wonder. If they put us all to sleep, and I can argue, I think successfully, that they put at least 75, 85, 90% of us asleep, then the law of correspondence says that as above, so below. If it can be done in one realm or by one group, it can be done in another realm by another group. Okay. So if they are able to put sleeping spells on us, then we should be able to put sleeping spells on them. But even better, think of the law of polarity. If it's possible to do a mass sleeping spell on an entire population, then shouldn't it be possible to do a mass waking spell upon a population? And Jacqueline Pritchard is picking up what I'm putting down. She says the kiss of true love wakes everyone. All paradoxes can be reconciled. They've got to show us the truth so they can say, they can have plausible deniability. We told you. We told you. So are they telling us, ladies and gentlemen, and this should give you some hope. This should give you a little pickup in your step. This should blow some wind up your skirts. If they can put us all to sleep with a spell, if they can put society as a whole to sleep with a spell, according to the law, the principle of correspondence, according to the principle of polarity, we can do the same thing. We can do the opposite. Scott Severini, and I wasn't thinking this way, we could put the MFers, the money funders, we could put the elite, the cultural elite, we could put our captors to sleep if we wanted to. Tracy's got it. Flip it on them. But I wouldn't even think about that part. The important part is, Gary says, turnabout's fair play. We could launch a waking spell on the population. We could launch a waking spell on society. We can launch a waking spell, and Glow Girl has it. How did Snow White get woken up? With the kiss of true love. How did Sleeping Beauty get awakened? With the kiss of true love. How about we? And I think I know how to do it. You're not going to believe how it's done, but I think I know how to do it. Could there be a waking spell launched in the power of true love that could be administered by the kiss that would wake up, that would initiate awakening on a societal level? That's something to think about, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? If they can do a sleeping spell, we could do a waking spell. And we're always talking about there's nothing more powerful than love. There's a lot of flapping, but I don't see a lot of action being taken. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Just something to ponder. Do we believe these principles, or do we just talk about them? Do we believe that things can be done, or do we just talk about them? They put us to sleep with a spell. Why can't we wake everybody up with a spell, with a charm, with magic, with the focusing of our intention? Tracy said it's imposing our will on them. Exactly, it is. And are we going to get? Oh, look at Tanhawk Group. 7 dwarfs, 7 bowls, 7 chakras. Ooh, watch out. We got some smart people. I have no problem whatsoever imposing my will on those that have imposed their will on us. It's called reciprocity. It is in perfect correspondence with the law of polarity. All paradoxes must be reconciled. I'm doing my Kabbalionic duty to balance the polarity. I'm doing my Kabbalionic duty of as above, so below. So no, I don't have any problem whatsoever with that. Very, very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Jama, I love Jama. She says this is genius thinking. It is pretty good stuff, isn't it? And I'm trying to remember how this got started. It wasn't just me. There's been a few people that have weighed in on this, as my stepfather calls me. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Derek, you can go ahead and get this thing started, because I'm done here. I just wanted to bring you this idea. I wanted to bring you some hope, wanted to bring you some inspiration, wanted to get you to start thinking along some different lines and stop thinking that it's all over and that nothing good can happen, because we are the last generation of real humans. And who knows what we can do, ladies and gentlemen, once we get busy. I know it's outside the box. I know it's different. I know it's weird to some of you. But if you continue to do the same things you've always done, you're going to get the same results you've always got. How's that working for you? I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is New Cosmic Knowledge. We're the last generation of real humans. Let's get busy, and everybody head over to the Global Witness channel and watch what Derek has to say live. We'll see you again at 8 p.m. Eastern with Derek Bros right here, and then 10 p.m. Eastern with Scotty Roberts, the return of the Consequential Rapscallions. Why don't you go be a consequential rapscallion? Let's get busy. Jeffrey Daugherty, over and out.